Well, good morning. Welcome into Market Day Report. The bad news is you got me all day. The good news is you got me all day. How about that? I'm Scott Shelby, otherwise known as the Cow Guy. Let's take a look at what the markets did overnight. I'm going to get tripped up here because I'm not used to seeing them stagnant. But right now, this is what happened overnight. So we're just mildly better in corn here. That front month March up a half cent, 6.51 is last. May's up 3/4 of a penny to 6.51 3/4. So not a lot going out there. You do gain a little bit going out the deferreds, but I can't really get too excited about a penny gain as you go out 3 or 4 months. So that's what we've got going on overnight in corn. Soybeans overnight, what do they do? Well, this is what we call a smorgasbord, a little something for everybody, right? We got Jan down a quarter, 14.82 is last. March is up a quarter, 14.85 1/4 is last. And then May was sharply unchanged, right? So we got a little something for everybody there, up, down, and in the middle. And then let's take a look at Chicago wheat. Wheat in Chicago, that's up about a nickel across the board overnight. March was up 4.5 cents to 7.53 3/4, and May's up 5 1/4 cents to 7.64. Let's take a quick peek at the wheat in Kansas City. I was doing the radio show that was up, and it still is, or it is. It was up overnight, and nothing trading right now until 8:30, I believe. But let's go with the March contract, 6 cents higher, 8.56 1/4, while May's 5.5 cents higher at 8.50. What do we have happening in spring wheat? Is it 3 for 3 as far as wheat contracts go? Yes. March is up 3 3/4 cents, 9.21 even. May was up 3 cents higher to 9.16 even. And then finally, cotton. I can't remember what cotton was doing. It was down 36 points. There you go. 81.01 is where we went out there. Getting ready for the morning open. Let's bring in Brian Hoops from Midwest Marketing. Brian, thanks for being on the show. I saw the changes on the day when I sat down for the radio show about an hour and a bit ago, and I thought, okay, looks like the holiday markets are here. What do you think?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Scott. Holiday markets are here. It's a very low volume overnight type trade. We did have some export sales out this morning, second biggest soybean sales of the marketing year. Corn was decent, wheat were decent, probably above expectations, but you can't really read in too much into that because we knew they were going to be big sales.
Yes.
You know, market's already looking ahead.
Yes.
This week we had one private sale of soybeans, and we had a corn sale this morning. So that sale was to Mexico, by the way, about a cargo, almost 2 cargoes of corn. So that means next week's sales won't be all that exciting, and the market's going to kind of digest that and start looking ahead to that next week already. So just with the limited news, limited volume, I think you're probably going to be looking at more technical type trade going here in the next several days, where stops are ran, the highs, the lows from the previous day get taken out, and the market just moves on that alone. Rather than longer-term trends being established. Weather in South America just kind of remains a mixed bag. You know, the bears point to really good conditions in Brazil for both corn and soybeans, and crops maybe being large enough to make up for the shortfall in Argentina, while some of the bulls are pointing towards a drought that's ongoing in Argentina. We're lowering crop yields in wheat in Argentina. It's probably just a matter of time before corn and soybean yields start getting reduced as well. So there's that tug of war out there between the bulls and the bears, and just right now this market just feels like it doesn't know which way to go, and technicals could be kind of the dominant factor here going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what people look for when the fundamental news starts to slow down a little bit. You're right about those exports. They're pretty decent, but you know what? If you get surprised by exports on Thursday morning, you're doing something wrong, because those are pretty well telegraphed by the people in the industry, number one. And and number two is the only other thing, we'll talk about it in the next segment, but we also had retail sales come out today, and that was kind of stinky. So we'll talk about the strength of the consumer, because that's going to have something to do with those beef prices. Stay right there. We're going to go away. Thanks for being on. We're going to come back to you in just a minute, pay some bills, and come back with Brian Hoops from Midwest Marketing after this. All right, welcome back. This is Market Day Report, and we're going to check on the overnights when it comes to, well, it's actually not overnights. It's yesterday's closes now when it comes to these meats. Let's take a look at live cattle. Sitting here wearing a cow jacket, we can't help but talk about live cattle, can we? This is how we closed yesterday. A little bit heavy. Feb was down 60. Well, you can tell by the change that day there wasn't a lot going on, so let's not make too much of it here. But 65 cents lower in Feb. 155.70 was last April's off 47 cents to 159.57. Moving over to the feeders yesterday, and we were closing down as well. Kind of quiet. Jan off 62 cents, 183.60. March was off 27 cents to 185.45. There you go. So 2 negative cattle prices. Let's see what we had happening in lean hogs. Lean hogs were also down. Feb led the way, 117 lower to 83.40. April off 62 cents to 90.72. Let's bring back in Brian Hoops from Midwest Marketing. Brian, I left the show on, or left the last break talking about retail sales because the last read we got was a 1.2% up, which was kind of surprising to folks at the time. And then we were looking for a read of 0.2% up this time around, and we got a minus 0.2. So that's a decent miss, number one. And number two, consumers have been pretty healthy. They've been spending their savings. They've been spending their credit cards. They've actually now started to dip in their 401ks. That could be, if they start running out of money, there could be a little bit of a headwind to some of these prices, right?
Yeah, I think if you're, a cattle producer, you really have to be paying attention to this because those retail sales that you talked about, we saw a big miss, like you mentioned, and real disappointing numbers. And what consumers have kind of quit their spending on is big ticket items, furniture, automobiles, building materials, and tells us that, maybe they were out there buying used cars or buying new furniture for their homes, rebuilding or remodeling their house. Those are starting to slow down. Those items are that money's not being spent any longer on those items. And the next shoe to fall would be discretionary spending. They're going out to the movie theaters, they're going out to eat steak dinners, gym memberships, that sort of thing would probably be the next thing to really get hammered here. And so if we're talking about that being a possibility, we're looking at, maybe weakening demand for U.S. beef and higher cuts of meat. So I think that's the thing that'll really look to cap rallies. Even though we have real tight supplies and it looks real bullish, the market's dialing in a premium already. I think you have to be very cautious if you're a producer about buying these calves and looking 6 to 9 months down the road and thinking things are going to be rosy, because they may not be if that U.S. consumer slows their buying habits like they are doing.
You make an excellent point. Because it's all about demand. You can have a short crop, you can have a shortage of things, but if you don't have the demand for it, then how short are you, right? I mean, that's the deal. Look what happened to cotton this year. 150 down to 75. If you liked it at 150, you'll love them at 75. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you very much on a busy Thursday morning. Brian Hoops from Midwest Marketing Solutions. We're going to bring it back here to, I almost said Chicago, Nashville, and I'll throw it back over. Good morning.